Hi, this is Josh Adams, and I have decided to do something that's probably not a great idea, but I wanted to do it anyway, as I am a human, and sometimes my human nature leads me to do stupid things. I think we'll talk about human nature today. But, as you can see, I'm currently in my car, and I'm going to highly distract you with a drive around where I live. So I'm going to turn this around and hopefully my tripod is steady. So, as you already saw, I was going to be maybe talking a little bit about human nature. Because really, what is the purpose of any organization or any form of government or even our families and stuff if it isn't ruled by or serves who we are, our inner nature? And like, I know a lot of these videos I make, and other people who have great ideas, who to maybe like improve the world in a positive way. Those types of things aren't necessarily that popular. Like, on my way here, I was listening to some music, and there's Ariana Grande. I'm not a big fan of pop, but there is our Ariana Grande. She's freakishly adorable, and her songs are catchy. And sometimes I'm like, catch them in my head. I can't compete with Ariana Grande. And why is that? Well, it's because she's really interesting. She's entertaining. And I think a big part of our nature, I know my nature is, as well as a lot of others, is, we want to feel good about ourselves, right? We want to seek pleasure where we can. We want to avoid pain where we can. We want to be entertained by sports or YouTube videos, music, little kittens and puppies and comedians. I mean, there's so many different ways for us to be entertained. It's really hard to compete with that. But I know I'm a victim of it, and I probably always will be. I'm not going to change that. But with that being said, I sometimes think that we're sometimes ruled too strongly by our nature, uh, and sometimes it has pretty negative consequences. In my last video, I kind of talked about human trafficking and sometimes how young young girls, who's on the verge of adulthood, or young adults, are sometimes victimized by those who seek power. And since then, I've been trying to kind of wrap my mind around how to balance our desires, our inner natures, with a society that also seeks unity, or a society that can enhance our freedoms and liberties, or a society where we can all work together as within our civics, within our government, within our nonprofits, within our workplaces. Um, and I think it's probably the one question that has probably eluded philosophers for ages. Because, I mean, what is our nature? As you can see on this drive, we have this perfect mix of what is natural, all the trees that are along the highways. Then we see what is not necessarily part of nature, which are the houses, the cars, the roads, the grass in between the pavilion. But does that mean that what we've created is beyond nature? Or is this now nature? Because what we see, what we've seen that man and woman has created is perhaps part of our nature. You know, we you can see that we've worked together to build this road. It was through, maybe taxpayer initiatives, government decisions, but this road got created and it benefits a lot of people. And isn't how we organize human nature? Is it not natural? Bees organize, ants organize, lions, elephants, dolphins. So I think, even though sometimes we create really ugly stuff, industrial complexes that are eyesores and smell terrible, yeah, I think, that's nature now. But when does it go too far? Does it go too far when you travel somewhere? I know, like when I've been in India, is it too far when the sky is no longer blue? When instead it's kind of yellow or orange, like is sometimes common around New Delhi? Um, I don't think that's natural, especially if it's making people sick. Is it natural for us to seek power and use it to hurt others? It might be, but I don't see queen bees trying to hurt the other bees. I don't see lionesses, trying to hurt other lions. Um, I think there's a lot of things that we do that is not, say, natural, but it's maybe part in our inner nature, or we allow it to happen. One of the biggest things that I always think is our issue is our pleasure seeking. I mentioned that I like listening to stupid songs by Ariana Grande or whatever, but something like that is harmless until we take it too far. You know, is there benefit to having multiple sexual partners? I don't think so, because usually, in most cases, someone is left jealous. Sexually transmitted diseases get spread around. You might, do a search about HIV in Africa. And there was this study that was done some months ago. I might have to look up the source. But the conclusion was the reason why HIV is so common in certain African countries is because of the culture for both men and women to have multiple long-term sexual relationships. HIV turns out it's really hard to spread by very short-term infidelity, and it's nearly impossible to spread in monogamous relationships where both partners have only had each other. So like in the story about that aspect of African culture, I'm not saying it's good or bad. Honestly, I think it's better for people to love each other than hate each other. But we got to do so responsibly, right? Because by having multiple sexual partners for a very long time, sure, we're expressing our freedom, we're expressing our liberty, but the long-term consequences is we're depriving ourselves and others of those same freedoms and liberties. HIV, over time develops into AIDS, and it will kill you. And it drastically affects the lives of other people. It limits our options, it limits how we can express our love. And that's just one of the many things. Now, was that natural for us to have multiple long-term sexual partners? Or was it in our nature to desire it because, well, we're greedy? I think I think in this case, my theory is we allow greed, um, and sometimes envy of what other people have, or the lack of contentment with what we have, to make decisions where, in the very, very short term and very immediate future, that it's okay to fulfill certain wants and desires, but in the long term, it really, really has a negative and long-term impact upon ourselves and others that we have taken these actions with. You know, another example could be, when the United States was first being taken over by European descended people. Of course, there wasn't the United States then. There was many different nations inhabited by Native Americans. But especially the English, they felt that it was righteous for white people to own private property. One of the classical economists of the time, Adam Smith, who's kind of the foundation of all modern economics, he said that having private property kind of ensures the long-term development of it. And I really can't dispute that. It's whenever you do so responsibly. But what was going on with the English at the time is you would have farmers who would clear the land, deplete the nutrients in the soil, and then they would become poor. And in order to no longer be impoverished, they'd have to move and find new land. Where they would get this land from, they would get it from Native Americans who did not believe in private property rights. They viewed that the property was for all. Because the English were so focused on having more and more land, what ended up developing was all the Native Americans were deprived of any land, and you had a genocide. You basically had genocide. Millions of people, women, children, they were deprived of their freedom and liberty because another population felt that it was within their freedom and liberty to fulfill their wants and desires. Yeah, you can look at history and you can see this everywhere. Sometimes it manifests itself with the expression of religion, which I am pro-faith, by the way, but you see this manifested in religion or political ideologies. You can see the atrocities of Europe in the World War periods. You can see the atrocities of communists in China and Russia in that same period. Millions and millions of people were dying. They were being actively killed or starved just because another person wanted to express their freedom and liberty at the cost of another. It's human nature. In the United States, we spend over 10% of all of our entire income on entertainment. It's actually not a whole lot. but we only spend 2% on charity. And there's just, it's not that much built into our societies to look after another, because our human nature is to seek our own freedom and liberty at the cost of another's. It's how we're built. I've been trying to contemplate, how it is we can change that. The prophets of the world have not been that successful. I mean, we have 1 billion people who follow Jesus, another 1 billion people who follow Muhammad, another 700 or 800 million people who follow the Hindu leaders such as Vishnu, Krishna. We got another several hundred million who believe in Buddha. And yet, despite the teachers of these faiths saying, hey, let's be moderate in all things, let's try to detach ourselves from our desires and to treat others better than ourselves, the societies we have built are highly contrary to those ways. I mean, a majority of everyone believes in something like that. But as you can see, it doesn't quite work out that way. You see in these homes, each family has their home. Sometimes there's fences that split them apart. You see, no one's really interacting with each other. We all use the same stuff, but not necessarily working together. We gotta have traffic signs, road signs, telling us exactly how each of us should limit our freedoms and liberties. We have lines that tell us what our boundaries are. Otherwise, it's chaos. Go back to India or Indonesia or somewhere else like that. People are driving all over the lines, cutting each other off. When you have the full ability to express the freedoms and liberties, it slows everything down. Right now, this traffic is going efficiently, and I can get from point A to point B fairly quickly. If I were somewhere else where everyone can do exactly what they want, unlimited, it'll actually take me longer to get there, and my car might get dinged up. So I just really want to close this video, and I just want to know, or what ideas you have. How can we balance these strong desires to seek our pleasures, do what we want, and do what we need sometimes, make a better life for ourselves and for those we do love, without it coming at the cost of other people? How can we enhance our own freedom and liberty while benefiting in others? Any ideas would be greatly appreciated. I thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this drive. I just drove to Bristol, Tennessee, but I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.